Hi, my name is Greg Suttie. This is Suttie on Soccer, and we are back again with Jacques Ladouceur. Jacques, we're talking about your new book, Raising a Professional Athlete. And we've talked about a lot of different specifics that you have nailed down as far as what it takes to raise a professional athlete. Today, we're going to talk about leadership. And Jacques, you've gotten this broken down into 5 distinct areas to talk about what leadership actually is. So those 5 areas are?
Well, let's take the first 2. The first 2 we want to talk about is character and hard work.
Oh, okay, very good.
With character, you break it down into a couple things, right? You talk about honesty, talk about respect for your coach, respect for your teammates, how you talk to them, how you relate to them. So those kind of things come with character. And then, you know, when you talk about character, a lot of times kids, they don't understand when it comes to honesty, especially the way they feel. The way they feel a certain day, right? So I had one boy that was making mistakes after mistakes, and I kept on saying to him, you're not doing it right, you're not doing it right. And then finally I had to stop him and I said, okay, what's the problem? What's the matter? And then he broke down. He said, my stomach has been hurting me all day, da, 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 da. So I said, hey, all you gotta do is be honest with me and just tell me that your stomach is hurting, then I will know.
Right.
So to help him with that. And then when we talk about respecting your coach, I always tell the kids, you know, hey, you have two ears and one mouth for one reason. God gave you those things for a reason. So that means you listen twice as much.
That's right.
You pay closer attention.
That's right.
That shows your coach that you respect them. That shows them you care about what they're saying. Another thing about respect is when it's time to clean up, when the practice is over, you know, the coach already set up the whole practice, put cones down, put this down. All these things were set up.
Right.
So you show your coach respect when you go out and you pick up all these things and you don't let him do it. So
interesting. So this is an interesting kind of a back and forth because that's a service.
That's a service.
And yet, from the standpoint of the coach, he's seeing leadership.
Correct.
He's not seeing the grunt.
Correct.
He's seeing the guy that's taking the initiative.
Correct.
And running out there and taking care of business.
That's
staying an extra couple of minutes after practice is over
Right.
to make sure everything's done and cleaning up. Wow, that's an interesting twist.
Yeah, these are little things that happen on the field that a lot of people don't pay attention to.
Right.
But as a coach over the years, you start to understand these things are important to help the kids show them how to serve.
Right.
We're showing them how to lead, but we're also showing them how to serve.
Well, what about the parent that wants to get off the field? I mean, the parent wants the kid, we're ready to go, we're going to McDonald's.
They're in a hurry.
We're in a hurry, we got to leave. You know, I don't want my kid doing that. Do you have an opportunity to ever talk about that with the parents?
No.
Okay.
Not a lot. Because
so this is that opportunity.
This is the opportunity, right? But what happens is that I know deep inside the parents want the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right? I know deep inside.
Or else they wouldn't even be there.
Yeah, I know deep inside they want the same thing. It's just the circumstances that just doesn't allow them to think about it because they're in a rush. They got to get here, they got to get there, their schedules. But that's fine.
Yeah.
But once they hear this, they will get it now.
Yep. And then hard work.
And then hard work. Hard work, of course, hard work is something that people can follow.
Yeah.
When someone works hard, when they speak finally, right, their words have more value. It goes deeper. It reaches people's hearts because they could see that those people are what we call battle tested. They've done the part.
Gotcha.
Right? They've done their part. They understand that. So hard work is just, when you do it, you don't have to talk. People follow you because of that.
Well, and it also translates into what the athlete is doing off the field, away from practice.
Correct.
You know, their hard work is taking place in their own personal integrity.
Correct.
As they're going forward off the field, away from coach.
Correct.
But then when they come back onto the team field and onto practice, then they're back into that same mindset, and the rest of the team is seeing this.
Right.
And it's going to reflect in that leadership.
Correct. And it's something everybody can do. It doesn't take talent. It doesn't take any kind of interesting or insights.
Right.
So that within itself shows the kids, well, wait a minute. I may not be the most talented guy on the team, but I certainly can work hard.
Right.
And that helps them. That builds their confidence because they know, hey, I'm going to do this hard. The coach is watching. The coach sees that.
I've seen a lot of professional players.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay. that have gotten to, it's clear, they've gotten to where they are because of hard work.
Correct.
They don't have necessarily, you can see it, they don't have the natural skill.
Right.
They don't have all of that. They don't have the speed
Right.
necessarily on the field, but because of their hard work, they've earned their spot on that field with that team.
Right. And the hard work creates a magic enthusiasm among the team, a motivation that when people see it, even though they're tired, they see somebody working hard.
Right.
They have this sense of responsibility to go help them.
And that player that may not have all of that necessary skill or speed has the respect of the players that do.
Has the respect of everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody respects them.
Right, right. And they become leaders.
That's how they become the leaders
Awesome.
in their own way.
What an awesome conversation. Okay, so there's 3 other points that we want to talk about with leadership. Jacques, the first one I think we want to talk about is humility.
We want to talk about humility. We want to talk about obedience. And we want to talk about communication.
Awesome. So
those things.
humility is something that is not a natural thing in a lot of people.
No, it's not.
So this is a learned trait.
It's not.
Okay, so talk a little bit about that on a professional level and also how it relates to the kids.
Well, there's a lot of people, for example, naturally, they like to grab all the attention, all the spotlight, which describes a lot of professional athletes, right?
Right.
So they like to either say things, either good things or ridiculous things to get attention.
Interesting.
So you have people that
we
do
can
that.
think of a few of those.
Yeah, we do have people that do that. Humility to me is where you have a person that puts everything out on the field, but they're never asking for attention. They're never focused on getting attention.
Wow.
They put everything out on the field, and the humility is seen by other players.
Yeah.
And the other players develop a respect for them, a
That's-
very unique respect for them because they see that humility. And they're never talking about themselves. They never talk about what they did. They never talk about how many goals they scored.
Right.
They just go out and do the work, and that's what their teammates see.
There's an interesting correlation with that and hard work that we were talking about a
Right.
few minutes ago.
Right.
Because this is something that's self-motivated.
Correct.
It isn't something that, like we said earlier, it's not something that's necessarily a natural attitude, that it's something we have to learn and we have to be conscious of.
Correct.
We have to go out and make a point to do that. And I would imagine that on the professional field, and on the youth field,
Right.
that seeing that humility is probably at first rare, and then also highly noticed.
Oh, it is. It's a weird thing. It's just as you said. It's not kind of seen or really grabbed really quick.
Right.
But it's like everybody internally notices it.
Yes.
It's a big deal. It's humility.
Right. So the next one we wanted to talk about, Jacques, is obedience.
An ounce of obedience is worth a ton of advice.
Oh, interesting.
So obedience, we're not talking about blind obedience. But we're
Gotcha.
talking about obedience. For example,
I see.
when I come on the field, my coach says, do this, this is the practice, do this. There's no
Right.
question.
None.
I don't have any questions. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do it.
Right.
And that obedience it follows me, and other players see it.
Gotcha.
Other players see it. If I rebel, other players see it. If I'm obedient, other players see it.
So now, that's not necessarily asking for an understanding of how this plays into. That's not asking questions.
No.
Okay. That's simply that's a whole different aspect of it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, if you don't understand something, you can ask questions.
Sure.
That's a different
But that
story.
doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'm not
Right.
arguing about
Right.
it. I'm just wanting to know how this plays
Yeah,
into the
I just
the
want to
bigger
know how to
picture.
do it, right? So,
Right.
but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it at 100%.
So
And I'm not gonna
obedience to
question
me, Jacques, has a little bit of a counterintuitiveness to leadership.
Correct.
I think in a lot of people's mindset, when they hear obedience, it's like, wait a minute, I'm the leader. We're talking about leadership here. I'm the one that you should be obeying
Right.
as the leader.
Right.
The obedience aspect of this whole thing sort of plays counterintuitive to the whole idea of leadership, I think, in a lot of people's mind.
Well, it does, because they think that they should be in charge.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. When you look at somebody who's in a position of being in charge,
Right.
it doesn't always mean that they are really in charge.
Interesting.
Okay, so and I hate to say it this way, a lot of husbands will say that.
Okay.
A lot of husbands and wives relationships.
Yeah,
will say
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
But there's positional leadership, and there's the people that are actually leading, and they're obedient. They kind of under the surface. You don't really see them up top per se, but obedience does that.
And it plays on, it plays into so much of this. This is a really good breakdown of leadership as a whole.
Right.
Because to be obedient to what the coach is saying, to the flow of the game even, instead of going off in your own direction. I mean, following what's happening in the game.
Right.
Being obedient to the rules of the game.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of this that plays into being a leader, and a lot of this is seen almost subliminally, I would think, from the standpoint of other players and teammates.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can look at obedience, for example. The coach says something and you obey it, you go apply it on the field.
Right.
Then when you apply it on the field, you're the leader.
There it is. Wow.
Right, you go from obedience from the coach to leadership on the field.
Right.
So you can look at it that way.
And then also you find that it worked.
That's right. And that builds confidence.
Right. The whole thing worked.
That builds confidence.
One final and rather large subject.
Yep.
What do we got?
Communication.
So let's communicate about communication.
Communication is a big deal. Children, young children, not all of them, they communicate, they talk, and they do all these things when they're not on the field. There's a lot of times when you put them on the field, they don't feel like communication is an important part. And there's a huge learning curve to helping them understand.
Okay, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, we don't need to talk about it.
Right. And I explained it to him. I said, look, you need to be my eyes on the field sometimes.
Wow.
If I'm facing this way, I can't see behind me. If you could tell me what's going on behind me, it helps me. Right. And so you have that part of communication. And then you have them, the simple fact of, in soccer, asking for the ball. Right? Just asking for the ball, just asking your teammates, hey, pass it to me. I'm over here. I want the ball.
Right.
And then you graduate to the next thing. Hey, you know what? There's somebody on your left. Go to your right. Oh, hey, go to your right and mark this person. You get this person, I'll get this person.
Right.
And it just avoids a lot of confusion. So those are the baby steps of communication. They start there.
Wow.
And then the harder steps are criticism. You know, how do you take criticism?
Right.
And how do you give out criticism?
Right.
Right. So criticism, you're going to be criticized, period. Because you're going to make mistakes and people are going to criticize you, and that's fine.
Right.
But you have to learn to deal with that. When you're criticizing someone, you have to learn how to do it correctly as well.
And in a way, while you're making that critique, lifting them up.
You've got to criticize them and then encourage them at the same time, because you don't want them to be down forever.
Sure.
Right? You want them to be up.
There's no time for that.
We don't have time for a pity party.
Right.
As I always tell my kids.
That's
so there's no time for it. It's got to happen within a split second.
Wow.
Criticism cannot continue on and on and on and on. It's something that happens. Boom. Okay, yeah, I got it. We fix it. One of the best ways to just fix it is to own up to your mistakes.
So do you find this kind of communication carries into, on a professional level, the locker room?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Is that healthy?
Yes, it is. We have battles all the time.
Okay.
We have disagreements all the time.
Gotcha.
But we know that we're gonna disagree. We already know that. And when the disagreement happens, we have to fix it right away. And we both know that.
Gotcha.
Every player who battles against each other, they know that. So communication is a huge deal, because when you're not communicating, it creates a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Well, and animosity.
If you're communicating the wrong way.
Right.
So that's another issue.
Right.
So there's a lot to learn there in communication.
So as a youth coach and as parents of a young athlete, how would you encourage communication? Let's just say from the parent standpoint, kid comes back home from practice and he's just belly aching about the play of one particular person. Mm-hmm. He hasn't said anything to that person.
Right.
How do you, and there's an animosity that's going to build up off the field.
It's going to build.
How do you encourage that from the parent standpoint and also from the coach's standpoint? Do you offer an opportunity for the team to come together after the game or at halftime to open up these things?
Well, usually, if that happens and the parent comes to me, we talk to the players first.
Gotcha.
We talk to the player and straighten things out first. We don't need the whole team involved if we can straighten it out with two players.
Well, because it is a personal thing between those two.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that communication then opens up.
It opens up an opportunities another time to talk to the whole team about it.
Absolutely.
So we do that. We do it that way.
So what else have you got? Leadership is probably, well, I mean, all of these issues that we talk about are huge in raising a professional athlete, but leadership
is big. Leadership is big. Everybody on your team needs to be a leader.
Right.
And how do you do that? They also need to follow. They also need to be obedient. So all of those things, they all work together, and it's constantly happening. They also need to serve. There are times when you're serving. There are times some people are serving you. There are times when you're criticizing, and there's times you're being criticized. Right. So all these things have to happen, and it takes a while for young kids to actually understand all of that.
And I would imagine that you see some kids grab it a little earlier than others.
Correct. Or some kids grab some part of it.
Gotcha.
You know, they're good at the good criticism, but
Right.
they're not good at taking it. So it takes
Right.
a while. All this is a learning process
Right.
that they go through.
All right, Jacques Ladouceur, this has been an outstanding series. We've got more to continue with.
We do for sure.
All right, this has been fun. Greg Suttie, Suttie on Soccer. Jacques Ladouceur, thanks for watching.
It's been great sharing with you today. This has been a passion of mine for such a long time. You can contact me in the email below and also purchase the books in the links below.